where they found, you fix all the things, but that is the center. They all are one. They are all different, it is one. As we say, God is described in one Christian mystic's book as an infinite circle whose circumference is nowhere and whose center is everywhere. That is the definition. God is an infinite circle whose circumference is nowhere, but whose center is everywhere. Then what is the human being? The human being also is an infinite circle whose circumference is nowhere, but whose center is located in this body. That's all. Difference between the two. Vivekananda also quotes that sentence. So, this Atman, self, just as all the spokes are fixed in the nave and the fellow of a chariot wheel, so are all beings, all gods, all worlds, all organs, and all these individual selves fixed in the self. They are all fixed in God. Just like the various spokes of the wheel. This is the last item in this kind of madhu. Idam vai tan madhu. Now comes a famous passage from the Rig Veda. That is a story of Hayagriva. We have a conception of Vishnu worship as a horse-headed Hayagriva. There is a story. In many Vaishnava temples you will find Hayagriva. He is a great teacher. And Griva means neck. Haya means horse. Man, body, but head and everything is good. And to bring out the truth from him, this was done. So in English even in England we say, the truth must come from the horse's mouth. In English we say, here that story is wonderful, coming from Rig Vedic times, a mythical story. I am telling you that story by reading Shankara's commentary. It says, Idam vaitan madhu dadhyang atharvano ashvibhyam uvacha tadetat triship pashyan avochat. This is that meditation on things mutually helpful, that honey subject, mutually helpful, meditation on that. One is on the worldly aspect, the other is on the spiritual aspect. This is now on the worldly aspect. Coming later, spiritual aspect. Both are there. How? This was told by Dadhyak, a sage by name Dadhyak, versed in the Atharva Veda. Atharva. Dadhyang Atharvano. He was a rishi of the Atharva Veda. Now, Atharva Veda and Zoroastrian scriptures have got a lot of similarity. The word Atharvan comes in Persian, Zoroastrian religion also. Atharvan. This Dadhyak taught it to the Ashwins. Ashwins are the doctors of the gods. Devas, doctor. First class doctors. All over the Rig Veda you will find story of Ashwins. Any kind of wound, Ashwins will treat. He can bring dead people to life. That is all the power of Ashwins. We have not achieved that much in modern physics, modern medicine. But we can create a new heart and make us live. Heart transplant is a great event. But this Ashwins did all this, mythologically speaking, in very ancient times. Only thing they did which we have not done yet is, after man dies, put him back again. Cut off the neck and put it back again. That we have not done. So in myth we have done it. The reality God alone knows. If anybody can do. But what is impossible is become possible. When you throw a stone up, about 100 feet it goes and comes down. But when you throw a modern space vehicle, it goes on beyond the solar system. 3,000 million miles and more. What a tremendous thing it is. Can't you imagine? Can you imagine it? 100 years ago? Not at all. Even a heart transplant. 100 years ago, could anybody think of it? Oh no, it is all myth, would have said. But myth is becoming reality. Therefore, we don't say this is going to happen. We only say what is possible we do not know. Impossible is not correct. Many impossible have become possible so far. Let us keep an open mind. But this itself is a myth. Ashwins are well known as very efficient medical men. And Ayurveda has great respect for these Ashwins. So here, this Rishi taught the Ashwins. Perceiving this, the Rishi said, O Ashwins, in human form, that terrible deed called Damsa, which you did out of greed, I will disclose as a cloud does rain. Rain is hidden in the cloud. After some time, a little precipitation, the whole water comes out. Also, this secret, you killed this particular sage there. It is hidden now. Nobody knows it. I'm going to proclaim this truth, he says. I will disclose. He says, the meditation on things mutually helpful, which the Dhyaj, versed in the Atharva Veda, taught you through a horse's head. That is the myth. Now Shankara's commentary makes you understand what is this myth. We have said that the story given here is for the sake of eulogy, just praising it. That means it is not historical fact, but like poetry, imagery, as we call it. What is that story? It is as follows. This refers to what has just been dealt with, or it is present to the mind. To a reason, very idea. To a reason. Just some time ago it happened. The particle why in Sanskrit is a reminder, well known. Why means well known. It reminds us of the story narrated elsewhere. Sharapada Brahmana 14.114. In a different context, which is suggested by the word that. That meditation on things mutually helpful, which is only hinted at, but not clearly expressed in the section dealing with the right called Pravargya, is described in this section in the words, this earth is the honey, etc., etc. How was it hinted at there? Now comes the Dhyaj, versed in the Atharva Veda, taught these Ashwins, the section dealing with meditation on things mutually helpful. This Madhukanda was taught by him. It was a favorite subject with them. Therefore, he came to them, wishing to teach them thus. Then, this is also 14.1.4.13 of Sharapada Brahmana. He said, Indra has told me that he will behead me the moment I teach to anybody. This particular Rishi was to teach. When they came to him, he told the truth. This truth is in the hands of Indra. He doesn't want me to communicate to anybody. He has threatened me. If you teach it to anybody, I will behead you. That is the situation. Dhyaj. Then immediately the Ashwin said, therefore I am afraid of Indra. If he does not behead me, then I will accept you as my disciples. This is what the Rishi said to the Ashwins. The Ashwins said, we will protect you from him. He said, you don't worry, give us this knowledge. We will protect you from him. How will you protect me? The Rishi asked. When you will accept us as your disciples, we shall cut off your head, this, remove it elsewhere, and preserve it. Then bringing a horse's head, we shall fix it on you. You will teach us through that. We can escape Indra's fear of killing. Because I have not told these people. The horse told, I didn't tell. That's it. So Indra, Ashwins have the power to bring back the head once again. It becomes once again. That is the trick that was suggested by the Ashwins. As you do so, Indra will cut off that head of yours. Through that horse's mouth, you tell us, then Indra certainly will come. Knowledge we have got. Let him take off your head. We shall put back your head on you. Don't worry. Any doctor can do it about all other aspects. And so, then we shall bring your own head and replace it on you. That's the agreement. All right, said this Brahmana, and accepted the Ashwins as his disciples. When he did so, they cut off his head and kept it by elsewhere. Then bringing a horse's head, they fixed it on him. Through that, he taught them. Through that horse's mouth, he taught them. Authoritative, it means in English. Horse's mouth coming means authoritative. Anybody, a clerk saying it's not correct, the secretary must say, there's a horse's mouth. Similarly, so they fixed the head on him. Through that, he taught them. As he was teaching them, Indra cut off that head. Then the Ashwins brought his own head and replaced it on him. Again, Shatabata 14, 1, 22, 24. On that occasion, however, only that portion of this meditation on things mutually helpful, this Madhu subject, was taught, which forms part of the rite called Pravargya, a ritual called Pravargya. That was taught. But there is a spiritual dimension of it. That was not taught. But not the sacred portion known as self-knowledge, Adhyatma Vidya. Only the ritual portion was taught at that time. The story that was recited there is here mentioned for the sake of eulogy, just for praising self-knowledge, that it has come from the horse's mouth, authoritative. Just to stress that, we brought that story into this context. Story belongs to some other context. It is. This is that meditation on things mutually helpful, which the Dhyat, versed in the Atharva Veda, taught the Ashwins through this device. As said in Shankara's commentary is very interesting. Perceiving this deed, the Rishi or mantra said, O Ashwins in human form, that terrible deed, etc., that qualifies the remote Damsha, remote sage, which is the name of the dead, of the deed, Damsha. That evil deed is called Damsha. Reminding you of what happened long ago, that deed. What kind of deed was it? Terrible. Why was it done? Out of greed. People do terrible deeds in the world, tempted by greed. Every day we read in the papers. These Ashwins too appear to have done exactly like that. What you have done in secret, I will disclose now. That is the police investigation report. I am going to disclose. Like what? As a cloud does rain. Cloud hides the rain. And now he discloses the rain. I will do the same. In the Vedas, the particle na, used after a word, denotes comparison, not negation. Before the word, na means negation. After the word, it's only comparison. Ashwam na means like a horse. Like a horse. Na ashwam means no horse. I will disclose your terrible deed as a cloud indicates rain through rumbling noise. This is the construction. Then, the question, how can these two mantras be in praise to the Ashwins? They rather condemn them. That is it. In praise, how can you say, reply, there is nothing wrong in it. These are eulogistics. Eulogy, prashamsa, got it. Not condemnatory. Because in spite of doing such a despicable deed, they passed off absolutely scatheless, nor did they suffer anything in the unseen realm. Therefore, these two mantras are eulogistic. People sometimes rightly construe blame as praise, and likewise, it is common knowledge that praise may be blame in disguise. Even in what you call singing the grace, glory of God, we sometimes use blameworthy things, even in our songs and all that. Krishna is described, O thief of the butter, at Chora. The constant utterance about Krishna is Chora. This is, in poetry it is allowed. Even though such a great soul, we worship him, but we call him, you are a Chora. That's the idea. The sacred meditation on things mutually helpful. This Madhukanda now comes. This is what that meditation. It is, we are waiting for the spiritual meditation. What is that subject of spiritual meditation? That is coming now here. Say, at 2.5.18 of this book, you get 2.5.18. Very interesting, this particular subject is very interesting. Yeah. Idam Vait and Madhu, the spiritual part of that Madhu, that things mutually helpful, I am now going to tell you. The other was purely mythological. Idam Vait and Madhu, Dadhyang Atharvano Ashwabhyam Uvacha. That sage, Dadhyan, taught to Ashwins. Their Ashwins are two. Ashwina Kumara, they are always Dvivajana. Two Ashwins, not one. Always a Dvivajana Ashwin. Tadedat Rishi Pashyan Avochat. Seeing that, this Rishi said, what did he say? Now comes the purely spiritual part of the whole of this Masukanda. And they are famous, quoted by commentators again and again. Very imaginative, poetic way of expressing the presence of Brahman in this universe. That is the language is used here. Puraschakre Dvipada, Puraschakre Chadushpadaha, Purasapakshi Bhutva Pura Purusha Abhishat, Iti Sava Ayam Purushaha, Sarvasu Purshu Purishayaha, Nainena Kinchana Anavrutam, Nainena Kinchana Asamvrutam. What is that? This is that meditation on things mutually helpful, which the Dhyats, versed in the Atharva Veda, taught the Ashwins. Perceiving this, the Rishi said, now comes the statement, Puraschakre. Pura is body. Pura means a city. But in the Vedas, in the Upanishads, human body is compared to a Pura, a city with so many openings to go in and go out. Navadware Pure Dehi, Krishna says in the Gita, body, there are 9 holes through which you can come and go and etc. Like a town, like a city. In the Isha, in the Kathopanishad, one whole chapter begins with the idea that this is a Puri, Puramedadashadwaram, Ajasya Avakrachetasaha, of that infinite Atman, birthless and deathless. There is the city, this human body, which has 11 openings, normally 9, but 2 more are added. One is particularly this Sahasrara, there is an opening there, Brahmarandra. So the number becomes 2 more by detailed numbering of left nose and right nose, etc. Otherwise 9. Gita speaks of Navadwara. A city with 9 gates, a city with 11 gates. So here also the word Pura comes very in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. He, the Atman, evolved cities, Puraschakre, Dvipada, Chatushpada, 2-legged, 4-legged beings, bodies, he made. 2-legged are birds and other kind of creatures, 4-legged are 4-legged domestic creatures. So, he says, bodies, he first created the form. Created, never understand, as it is said in mythological or in the Western concept of somebody creating something out of something else. Here, Brahman formed himself into a thing. He himself. There is no second thing. He first formed, projected the word, projected. Switch means to project. He projected 2-legged forms, 4-legged forms, and various other types. This is only sample. The whole concept of organic evolution we are mentioning here. Organic evolution is that same primordial reality behind the cosmos itself has become this particular organism, a cell, or a living being has become. Then what happened? Having made a form, he entered into it. That is a wonderful thing. Purasya pakshi bhutva puram avivesha. This Atman, after forming the body, like a bird, he entered into it. Pakshi can fly. That's the nature of soul. Body is something gross. Soul is something subtle. The comparison is to the bird and to the body. Puraschakre, Dvipada, Chatushpadaha. Then he, on account of his dwelling in all bodies, he is dwelling in all bodies. Pura, in which he lives. So it's called, his name became Purusha. He fills the body. Therefore it's called Purusha. He dwells in all bodies, is called Purusha. There is nothing that is not covered by him. There is nothing that is not pervaded by him. Everything in this universe. Sample is taken, 2-legged and 4-legged. But you take a book on biology, and from that first amoeba, living cell, up to the highest creature called man, how many forms, millions and millions of forms and species, and every one of them, he did like this. He formed himself into that form, and he entered into it. He is inside. manipulating everything. The same Atman, the whole universe, is contained in him. He contains himself into the universe as well. Later on, in the 3rd and 4th chapters, you will get a famous Brahmana called Antaryami Brahmana. This is Madhu Brahmana. The other is Antaryami Brahmana. Antaryami means one who moves about inside, making things function. Our functioning principle is within the thing itself, not outside. In all supernatural theories, the functioning principle is outside. But in Vedanta and in science, the functioning principle is within itself, in the very heart of it. And so you will get that teaching there, the Antaryami Brahmana, a very famous passage. And commentators are very fond of that particular passage. But see the scientific approach is there. Vivekananda said, to explain a particular thing from within the thing itself is scientific, not from outside it. Some ghost, some god, something. No, that's not scientific. See inside what is functioning. It's all within itself. How does a cell develop? The cell has within itself all the energy to shape itself. Something extraordinary when you study this idea of biology, that without any external help, it produces everything from within. This human body, you've got a hard bone, but extremely soft, called the mucous membrane. Everything is there. All come. And here is an eye, which can also reflect light, which also came from within itself. Same material. And power that evolves this material is also inside. So repair shop, new production, and everything is inside itself. Oh, something extraordinary. That is Vedanta. That Brahman assumed the form of this infinite number of creatures. 2 legs, 1 leg, 5 legs, whatever it be. Then he entered into them. And there inside, functioning everything. Now, study embryology. From within the embryo, all the energies are there to make it grow from the tiny little organism to highly developed human being. No external god or goddess is coming to trouble there. Everything is there itself. Now this is scientific. This particular example is from that point of view. Puraschakre, Dvipadaha Chatushpadaha, Puraschakre, Purasapakshi Bhutva, Purah Purusha Avidishat, as the subtle body. In this case, Pakshi is as a subtle body. This is a gross body. He entered it as a subtle body. And all the functions are going on. Digestion, metabolic development, blood, creation, everything is going on. Because he is there. Therefore he is called Purusha. He is filling the Pura, therefore he is called Purusha. Purusha is the word for person. Then, after this, he made bodies. The Supreme Lord, Shankara's commentary, who made this universe, came out of the unmanifested state. In the beginning, Brahman was unmanifested, immobile. There's Shiva lying absolutely motionless. That is one state. Then movement starts. A snake coiled up. That Nirguna Brahman. The same snake started moving. That is Saguna Brahman. That is Shakti. That is the origin of the wonderful creation. That original background material was lying quiescent. Then something started moving inside and exploded, and the world came out of it. It's like today's biology, cosmology. But we put it as Brahman. That Brahman originally was in the unmanifested state. Then, in the course of his manifesting, the undifferentiated name and form, after first projecting the worlds such as this earth, made bodies with 2 feet, 4 feet, etc., etc. And then he entered into them as a bird. What is the bird? The subtle body, Sukshma Sharira. This is the Sthula Sharira, there is the subtle body, Sukshma Sharira. Now, those who discuss about reincarnation, rebirth, which is a very attractive subject to everybody today. But many scientists are still suspicious. Is it true? Is it true? It looks attractive, but it is, many people say, very attractive. But it is very difficult to believe. As soon as you understand the principle of this subtle body, things become clearer. It's because you think only of the gross body. How can we come back again when the gross body is thrown away? But gross body alone dies. At death, the subtle body doesn't die. that body can manufacture another body. And that's why in embryo development, the power is within. What is the power? Not dull dead matter. There is the power of consciousness working there. That is the subtle body, Sukshma Sharira. And so he says, the text explains, on account of his dwelling in all bodies, is he called the Purusha. There is nothing that is not covered by him. Likewise, there is nothing that is not pervaded by him. Inside, outside, everywhere, this Atman. Like space. Space is everywhere. Nothing can limit it. There is nothing that is not pervaded by him, that is not covered by him. See the language. A universal statement. And we can say the same thing as I told you about the sun. There is nothing that is not pervaded by the sun in the solar system. It is all his energy, functioning in various forms, subtle, gross, or anything. So, everything is enveloped by him, as it's inside and outside. Andar bahishchatat sarvam, vyapya narayana sthitah. Narayana Upanishad speaks of it, enveloping, pervading, inside of everything, outside of everything. Does Narayana live and function? Andar bahishcha tat sarvam, vyapya, pervading, Narayana sthitah. India's concept of God is this. He is everything, he is in everything, he is outside everything. Bahya as well as antar, both. The object there and the thing here. As I told earlier, there is the world of objects. To see it, you need the sense organ. The same material that made the objects here made also the sense organs here. The same material. But refinements are there. Even in the body there is refinement. As I told you, that the eyelid, the eye, what you call the perception capacity of the eye, is something wonderful. How delicate it is, made from the same material, but extremely refined. So all this universe, from the most gross to the most subtle, it is all He. It is all He. Sarvam khalu idam brahma. Sarvam brahmamayam. Vasudeva sarvamiti. Samahatma sudurlabha. The Gita said, everything is Vasudeva Maya, the whole universe. That is the drive of modern science. No external thing, no supernatural thing. Nature explains itself. The whole nature is a self-acting, self-moving thing. The word nature, therefore, we give it the highest meaning. Parashakti, not the ordinary dead nature of physics or chemistry. All aspects of nature, consciousness plus unconscious nature, both are included together in our concept of Prakriti. Thus, it is He who has name and form, the body and the organs, inside and outside everything. In other words, the mantra, He made bodies, etc., briefly enunciates the unity of the self. Same self is in that body, in this body, in this body. As a bird, he entered there. As a bird, he entered there. Then he becomes the Antaryamin, the inner self. That subject will be expanded in the next book. Antaryami Brahmanam, it is called. Then the next logo is also of that spiritual dimension of the Dajjak story. Ashudhyam Uvacha Tadedat Rishi Pashyan Avochat. This is that meditation on things mutually helpful which the Dhyaksh, versed in the Atharva Veda, taught the Ashwins. Rupam Rupam Pratirupo Babhuva Tadasya Rupam Pratijakshanaya Indro Mayabhi Purirupa Iyate Yukta Hyasya Haraya Shata Desha Itta Desha Iti. This is also often quoted passage of this Upanishad. It says there, He made himself into according to each form. For what form? That form of his was for the sake of making him known. The one wanted to become the many. Then only it becomes an object of knowledge. Otherwise there is no object at all. Till now it is only pure subject. To making himself known, he assumed the form. Just this form, that form, to making himself known. That's language. Rupam, Rupam, Pratirupo Babhuva. According to the bird, the what you call subtle body that entered into that bird's cross body had a bird appearance. A human body, human appearance. Rupam, Rupam, Pratirupo. In a fish, fish appearance. The same thing as a subtle body entered there. Rupam, Rupam, Pratirupo Babhuva. What is that form for? Tadasya Rupam. Pratijakshanaya, in order to recognize. I must recognize. How do you see yourself? For example, you want to see yourself. You can't see yourself. Your eyes cannot see yourself. You look at a mirror. Then you see yourself. Because of that mirror, you are able to see yourself. Otherwise, you cannot see. The eye cannot see itself. So, Brahman had this world as an object of creation, whereby he can recognize himself and see things for himself. Indro Mayabhi Pururupa Iyate. The divine has Maya. Through that Maya, he appears himself in thousands of forms. Bahurupa, Pratirupa, Iyate. Indro Mayabhi Pururupa Iyate. The Lord, on account of his Maya, he is perceived as manifold. For to him are yoked 10 organs. If it is one type of body, 10 organs. Or hundreds of them. He is the organs. See that? He himself is the organs. He is not only the Atman, the body, the organs, all. He is the organs. He is 10 and thousands, many and infinite. Today's language in cosmology and evolutionary biology will be exactly of this nature. That one reality behind has become all these infinite varieties. They're all one, but they're all infinite varieties just now. He is 10, he is thousands, infinite. That Brahman is without prior or posterior. Nothing behind, nothing in front. Nothing yesterday, nothing tomorrow. Time doesn't apply to it. See the language. Nothing prior, nothing posterior. That yesterday and tomorrow. There's no reference. Spatially also, nothing behind, nothing in front. One alone is. Without interior or exterior. Look at space. Has it interior? Has it exterior? Has it posterior? Has it prior? Nothing. The only symbol of Brahman in the universe is space. Infinite space. Undivided. Fully. So, without interior or exterior. This self, the perceiver of everything, see the language, the perceiver of everything is Brahman. This is the teaching. This self, pointing out, this is a demonstrative pronoun. This self, in you, in me, in all. This self, that bird that entered into all of us. What is he? Yeah. I am Atma, Brahma. This Atman is Brahman. This is called a Mahavakya. Great utterance, Upanishad, 4 of them are there. This is one, I am Atma, Brahma. This Atman is Brahman. Brahma Vedam Sarvam. Tattvamasi. Prajnanam Brahma. These are all called Mahavakyas. Great utterances means pregnant with meaning. But looks very ordinary, very simple. But inside, full of meaning. Just like, as I quoted, the nuclear energy formula of Einstein. Looks very simple. E equals mc squared, written on the board. Is that ordinary, simple, but contains tremendous meaning. It deals with the energy, infinite energy hidden in a piece of matter. E equals mc squared, mass times the square of the speed of light. That's called atomic energy. Outwardly, we don't see all that. Similarly, this Atman is of that nature. I am Atma Brahma. Sarvanubhuhu. He sees everything. He experiences everything. Sarva anubhuhu. See the language. Sarva anubhuhu. All experience is Brahman. Every type of experience is Brahman only. Therefore, he is called the unity of experience. Anubhava Ekatva. Anubhava Swarupa is the Bhagavatam. Bhakti book, you will find God is described. Anubhava Ananda Swarupa. Of the nature of infinite bliss experience. That Brahman is that nature. Anubhava. Your Anubhava, my Anubhava. These are all particles of that infinite Anubhava called Brahman. Sarva Anubhuhu. Very profound utterance, this particular word. Iti Anuशाsanam. This is the teaching. Brahman is Sarva Anubhuhu. In order to teach it to the humanity, Upanishads have come. They discovered the truth. In order to teach it to humanity, Vyasa wrote Brahma Sutras, more than 220 sutras. And Shankara wrote his commentary. In that commentary he said, Atmaigatva Vidya Pratipattaye Sarve Vedanta Arabhyante. All these Upanishads have only one aim in view, to demonstrate the total unity of the Atman. There is only one Atman, the whole universe. Atma Ekatva Vidya, the science of the unity of the self. That is the theme of Vedanta. And similarly, Anubhava Avasanam, Brahma Vijnanam. Knowledge of Brahman consummates in the experience of Brahman. That Brahman is experience itself. Experience Sarvanabhu. Experience of everything. Seer of everything. That is the wonderful verse. This is often quoted every time. It says, this self, perceiver of everything, because as the self of all, it perceives everything. As the self of all, it perceives everything. God is all-knowing, we say, in religious language, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent and all that. Where is the explanation for it? Only in Vedanta you will get, unless you are the all, you cannot know the all. A God separate from the world can never be all-knowing. He may have much knowledge, better than you and I, but he cannot be all-knowing. You are the all, therefore you are knowing all also. Sarvajñascha means sarvamcha tajñascha sarvajñaha. Sarvajña word is translated by Shankaracharya. Knower of everything. Sarvajña means knower of everything. How can it know everything? Because he is everything. Sarvamcha tajñascha sarvajñaha. Brahman is sarvajña. The Atman is sarvajña. But we are not sarvajña. We are caught up in the tiny body and we are children. We don't know anything about this. That is what we have to change. We can. When we become the Atman, we are able to realize this truth. A long way off, but it is good to know the spark of the divine is within me. That is the practical application of this teaching. Now, in this section, we have finished second book with this section. Only section 6 is there, giving the spiritual genealogy of this Vedic tradition. How a sage ancient time started to a disciple. Here to the next. A long tradition you will find here. It is Vamshaha. This is called Vamsha. Rishi Vamsha, we call it. We have got two aspects of our history. Raja Vamsha, Rishi Vamsha. Political inheritance and spiritual inheritance. Political inheritance has been broken again and again by foreign invasions, subjections, etc., etc. Spiritual inheritance has been absolutely continuous without any break. Even during the British period, India produced Ramakrishna. Imagine, tremendous personality. During Babur's invasion, India produced a Guru Nanak. Though everywhere killing is going on, the spiritual tradition has continued all through, even the worst of days. But political tradition, we have lost all the time. Rajavamsha, we have been a failure. And this time we want to correct it. If we can get the strength coming from the Rishivamsha, we can correct this Rajavamsha weakness, a continuity of political tradition. So he is telling here who taught first. Paudimashu, Gopavanavat, Gopavanaha. Now the line of teachers, Paudimasya, received it from Gopavana. Gopavana from another Paudimasya. It goes on. So many names are there. From Agnivesha, similarly. Finally, he says, they from Parasharya from Bharadwaja and Gautama from Bharadwaja, he from another Parasharya from Vaijavayana, he from Kaushikayani. Then finally, where does it reach up to? Ultimately, he from Brahman. Ultimately, last one, Brahman himself. Brahman alone can tell all about himself. Nobody else can do. Knowledge of God can come only from God himself. So, a continuity comes from Brahman. The last few are very interesting. Ekarshi from Viprajati from Vyashti from Sanaru from Sanatana from Sanaga from Parameshtin means Virat, Brahma Swarupa, Virat. And he from Brahman, that is the four-headed Brahma, Hiranyagarbha. And Brahman is self-born. Brahman has not come from anybody else. Swayambhu. And so the last salutations to Brahman. Having said this, the Parameshti Brahmanaha, Brahma Swayambhu, Brahmane Namaha. That's how it ends here. That is how the second book of the Brihadaranyaka ends here. And next time when we meet, we take the third book of the Brihadaranyaka. They call it chapter. Chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. The other is called section. 1, 2, 3, 4, section and verse. So chapter, section, verse. 3 things are mentioned. So we shall take it up. This section is very famous. where you come with Janaka, the great emperor, a knower of Brahman, and number of scholars and saints and sages, of which Yajnavalkya is the most famous. The whole story, therefore, is the story of Yajnavalkya and Janaka. Very interesting, humorous, so many other things are there in this particular story, along with depth, philosophical and spiritual. We shall take it up next time when we meet here. That will be last time, over a month ago, when we met together to study the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, we had completed that chapter with a profound utterance that the whole universe is Brahman, of the nature of pure consciousness. That is the greatest teaching of the Upanishads, and the self-ness is of the same nature as that infinite Brahman. The last language that was used at that time, it says here, I am Atma Brahma. Brahman is without interior, without exterior. No distinctions can be made in that infinite consciousness. Finally, this self, I am Atma, is Brahman. That is our true nature. Caught up in the body-mind complex, we behave like a small little entity. If we realize our true dimension, we are that infinite one. This is the language of Vedanta, and so we ended. I am Atma Brahma, Sarva Anubhuhu, which experiences everything, perceives everything. And I explained it last time by saying, if you experience everything, that is because you are everything. Otherwise you cannot experience everything. That Brahman alone is this universe of nature and human beings. Therefore Brahman is all-knowing, all-experiencing, sarvanubhuhu. Our experience is limited, not Brahman's experience, because Brahman is the all. That is the conclusion drawn, and we ended that chapter with the narration of the Rishi Parampara, Vamsha Parampara, from Guru to disciple. Thousands of years, this tremendous philosophy has been coming. In the Upanishad itself, there is a great parampara behind. After the Upanishads, another 4,000 years, you have to calculate. So I said, in Indian history, we have a continuous parampara, unbroken parampara or continuity of the Rishi Vamsha tradition, the spiritual tradition. It is our Raja Vamsha tradition or political tradition that has been broken again and again. And this time, it is our responsibility to see that the Raja Vamsha also remains unbroken, that remain a free people, so that we can practice this Vedanta in the best manner possible. That is the end of that chapter 2. The word Vamsha, Vamsha is the word for family or the family tree. It's called Vamsha. Actually, the word comes from the word for bamboo. Vamsha is the word for bamboo. In bamboo, there is section, this section, that section, that section. Each section going up, up, up. So they called it Vamsha, the particular section of a bamboo. And the Atman is compared to the space inside the bamboo. Vamshamadhya, Madhyavarti, Ambaravat. Like space within the bamboo is the Atman in all of us. Shankara says in another passage. So the word Vamsha comes from the word for bamboo. And this means parampara, continuity. As in the case of the bamboo, you will find section, section, section coming up, coming up. So the word Vamsha